As a business, we always need to be building awareness to generate leads and convert those leads into sales. Content marketing helps businesses by inspiring, educating, entertaining, and persuading our potential customers who we are and what we do. It allows us to sell without being salesy, and it's an essential part of any modern day marketing strategy. So, why is it so important to repurpose content? Welcome to Content Catalyst. I'm your host, Deb Szabo. I'm a marketing strategist, and in this episode, I share 5 ways on how you can repurpose your content. It's not about what it is, it's about what it can become. Dr. Zeus. Content marketing is sharing valuable information in a written, audio, video, or an image format, and it can be presented as long form or short form, preferably both. You want to get your content that you've made into hands of more people to help tell your story. And altering it and refreshing it helps to appeal to new audiences. So what does it mean to repurpose content? So it's when we reuse visuals or text to extend the life of your material, and it's refreshing it and presenting it in a different way so you can expand its use and even make your message more effective. So here are my 5 R's to repurposing content. Number 1, repost. This is essentially a rinse and repeat where, let's say you take a video on your social media on Instagram and you go in. I would look at your insights and go back over the last 12 months and look at what your highest performing reels are. And from there, you can then re-upload that same video. You can refresh the text, of course, in it, but essentially you're repurposing that piece of video with the same content. You might ask, well, what, won't people have already seen it, especially if it was a high performing post? Yes, the chances are. Also, the chances are of people not remembering it are very high as well. I wouldn't necessarily go back a month ago. I would go, say, 3 months or more back into your archive reels. The second one is Redistribute. So this is cross-posting. If you create an Instagram live, you could then download and share it on other platforms. I'll often take a live and then I'll upload it to YouTube or TikTok, or I'll chop it up and I'll take out the key points and then just share the 30-second part of that live. So milking a piece of content is such a powerful way, especially when you collaborate with others, because you're sharing that piece of content with those people tagged across all the mediums. So number 3 is remix. So this is where you take the same content and then you refresh it and you add different music, different text, different captions to give it a new lease of life. The most effective way on how you do this is by building a good content library. So having a content library is one of the best investments that you can make in your business. Now that's whether you get someone professionally to come in and take new images or videos, or you build up your own content library. I'm a massive fan of doing both, and I will pull out content and reuse it from 3 years ago. And in fact, I did it this week in a campaign that I'm doing. So when you are creating a content library, I always look at creating evergreen content. So look at your wardrobe if you are about to do a shoot. I wouldn't have people turn up in big jumpers if you want to use it all year round, same as I wouldn't have them in little sleeveless tops as well. So think about if you want to use your content throughout the year, is having it evergreen, people wearing non-branded clothes and also just neutral tones that don't stand out, they blend in, and that will give extended life to your videos. The other thing that I do as well is I actually will make seasonal content. So for example, if it's summertime and you're by the pool and you want to create content by the pool, then I can pull that out each summertime and use that. Same as if it was winter and I'm doing fireplace shots and things. Number 4 is repackage. Content theming allows you to tell one story 20 different ways across different mediums, and it's really powerful because you get to speak to people based on their preferred learning style and their platform. So I'm a visual learner, so I would probably respond more to a video. I would also respond better if I heard it on a podcast and then I saw it on your email and then I saw it on your videos. I would start with my long form content. So that's, say, a podcast, and I record my podcast. So that way I've got a YouTube video. I then strip the transcription out to write a blog and then continue that theming across my emails and then create content using that theme for my short form media, such as reels, stories, and carousels. So number 5 is regenerate. And this is where you take the same piece of content and add it to something else. So for example, let's just say we had some B-roll clips, and B-roll is literally video clips of people, places, and product without talking. And so let's just say we had a 7-second clip demonstrating something, and then we might stitch that together with 7 to 20 other clips to create a reel to tell a story. Now, and I do this all the time as well when I have a good content library and I'm doing it this week for a campaign. I've actually taken a blog that I've written and I'm adding that to a book that I'm writing at the moment. So this is where you have an opportunity to regenerate the same piece of content, add it to something else to extend the life of that content. So what about time sensitive and outdated content? I've had professional videos created in the past. You get a beautiful package of an about us, a sales video, a product video, and then all of a sudden somebody leaves or you don't have that product, and then that 1-minute video becomes essentially redundant. So how do we extend the life of those videos without it costing you a fortune? Well, one of the things that I always do is when I get professional videos made like that, I ask the videographer to give me the B-roll shots separately. So that gives me a content library to use for reels and things down the track. And then I also ask for a non-music bed version. And the reason I do this is because I can take that 1-minute video, pop it into CapCut, and then I can snip it out the bit in the middle where that piece of content is no longer relevant. And I can then add a new music bed to it, add new captions, and off I go. But if I've got a music bed attached to a talking head video, it makes it so much harder to do that. If you ask your videographer for that non-music bed version in the beginning, it'll make it so much easier to chop it up. Now, also, if you've taken the content and you've created a video, then I always recommend using a video editing app to edit your videos so you can do that. Because if you say edit in Instagram, then you put the music bed on it, you can't snip it up that video like I just said. So that's just something to be aware of. Okay, so how do I make my content repurposing part of my workflow? Well, I start by creating an annual content planner. I break it down each month, considering the campaigns or launches that I'm doing. This gives me a theme. So I have a content planner, and in there it's got all my content pillars and themes. And then I might look at either doing a content shoot day, or I'll go back through my content library and see what already exists. And then I might only just need a few bits and pieces of content to top up. So I start with my long form content, which is my video podcast. That gives me one piece of content for YouTube, podcast 2, 3, I take the transcription and I use that for my blog. And then I use that blog and I then create an email pointing to all of those pieces of content. And then I will also trim down further the text and visuals of that long form content and then add it to my social medias. And then I can also create lead magnets for it. So everything is supporting your initial theme of what you're talking about. So it's a way to tell a story in 20 different ways and to target people that learn differently. We don't just respond when we hear something once, very rarely when we're marketing. So we need to these days hear something about 20 times before we act. And that's why I say that 20 touch point is really important. So if you can push out content in different formats and in different platforms, it will help solidify your message and create a stronger call to action. Let's just say I'm doing an event. How do I not constantly say, here's my event, come to my event, buy tickets to my event? Well, I like to think about selling tickets is the problem I'm trying to solve, but what is the problem you're solving of your audience? So write down as many things as you can that you think might solve your problems. So if it's an event and you want to sell tickets and that person comes to that event, what is the benefit to them? So it might expand their network. It might allow them to connect with their partner. It might allow them to make new friends. And then these become your hooks or titles of your content. The next step then is, how can you interview the presenters that might be presenting at your event? How can you showcase the venue? How can you talk about the menu? What you want to do is give a new angle to present the same information to promote that event. All your content leads back to the same call to action. What is the benefit of repurposing content? Well, it's an effective way to get the most out of your existing content. It helps you to connect with people's different learning styles, and it allows you to tell a story in multiple different ways, so you're not sharing the same thing over and over. And it allows you to save time because you're not having to capture new content all the time. And this obviously saves your time and maximizes your investment when you are capturing content. So my 5 R's when we repurpose content is repost, and that's a rinse and repeat; redistribute, where we cross-post; remix, where we take that content and we breathe new life into it with new text and music; repackage is where we take a podcast and we turn it into a blog; regenerate is where we take one piece of content and we stitch it together with other pieces of content to extend its life. Thank you so much for joining me for this episode of Content Matters. If you know someone that might find this episode helpful, I would be so grateful if you shared it with them. If you would also like to get my repurposing content guide, head over to my website. It's debszabo.com/resources, and you can get my repurposing guide for free. So thank you again, and I'll see you in the next episode.